Welcome to the Human CMO, a conversational interview style show that humanizes leadership at the highest level of modern marketing. I'm Natalia Arkuszewska, a marketing leader, consultant, and the host of the Human CMO. I've spent over a decade helping brands and CMOs navigate growth, pressure, and strategy, and now I'm focused on creating honest conversation about what leadership really looks like behind the title. Today's guest is Stacey Danheiser, a seasoned CMO, growth strategist, and now a powerful advocate for women in leadership. Stacey has served as a marketing executive and an advisor in the high-growth B2B organizations, building marketing engines that don't just look good, but also drive revenue. She's known for aligning brand and demand, tightening positioning, and making marketing accountable to real business outcomes. But what makes her story especially compelling is that what she's now building. Beyond the boardroom, Stacey is increasingly focused on supporting women, helping them own their voice, sharpening their positioning, and step into leadership with clarity and confidence. She understands both the pressure of the CMO seat and the invisible weight many women carry while sitting in it. She brings that rare combination of operator-level credibility and heart-led leadership. Today, we're going to talk about what it really means to lead as a CMO, what breaks inside organizations as they scale, and how women can claim their authority without losing themselves in the process. Stacey, welcome to the Human CMO.
Be here.
All right, so my first question to you is, where are we dialing in from and what are we toasting with today?
Yes. All right. Well, I live in South Florida, about 45 minutes north of Miami. So we're actually have a little cold front today, but I'm drinking my water as always.
Unfortunately, I forgot mine, but I'll be having some sparkling water with you, so
Okay. Yes, that's more fun.
water is always the best. So what kind of week are we walking into with in this conversation today?
Yeah, I mean it's Tuesday. It already the week feels busy, and I feel embarrassed right now because I went to the gym this morning, and normally I am like I take it easy, and today I pushed myself a little bit more, so I'm like sitting here with a heating pad on my back because it was like weightlifting back squat day, and I'm
Yeah.
like, oh my gosh, hopefully it'll be fine and it'll go away by tomorrow. But yes.
That is so funny. I actually went to the gym today too, and I did do leg day, and I was struggling walking up the stairs right after. So I was like so slow and just getting back. I was like, oh, but it feels good in a few days, right?
Yes, in a few days, exactly.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right. So when someone says, oh, wow, you're a CMO, what story are they making up in their head that's completely wrong?
I think, CMOs, the job has changed so much over the years that CMOs keep getting more and more piled onto them. I have literally weekly conversations with CEOs that don't understand like the true purpose of marketing or what all marketing is responsible for. The majority, it seems, and especially coming from like software industry, that CMO is, the one driving pipeline, driving leads, driving the funnel, maybe even creative events or some type of creative campaigns. But rarely do they talk about like the strategy piece that CMOs and the hat of strategy that the CMO needs to wear.
So what would you then say is like, I guess you kind of answered that, but what's the least glamorous part of this job that nobody warns you about?
Ugh, the internal meetings and just constantly educating your peers on what marketing is. It's like a never-ending, ongoing cycle. And I've worked for big companies, small companies. It doesn't matter what industry. I feel like there's a significant amount of time spent on education, especially if you are in a tech organization where you have a lot of engineers. The engineering folks like probably have never taken a marketing class ever, and so you become the teacher, really. So that's like a side gig, part of the job description that's really never mentioned.
Mhm. Yeah, it's interesting. I find everybody's an expert but you, yet you're holding the title, marketing leader or, VP of marketing, and I just never seems to change, like after all
Uh,
these years.
well, and that's really interesting. I think it's because of what I've learned is like because people are consumers in their life, and maybe they even have an Instagram, right? Or they've dabbled a little bit with content. And so therefore, because I'm a professional shopper and I've maybe posted some things online that all of a sudden I'm qualified to be a marketer. And it's nobody else, no other profession really does that. Like nobody walks around saying we're all accountants if we don't understand accounting or finance or IT, engineering, like any other function, but marketing, because we all have access to so much marketing, like since birth, we feel like we have an opinion of it.
Yeah, exactly. So it's challenging for sure to
Huh.
have
Yeah.
to constantly uphold that, reputation and of what marketing is. So what does being a CMO cost you personally that doesn't show up on your LinkedIn?
Ooh, I would say like the mental aspect and just it is really draining, and especially when you work in a company to have to be involved in every meeting. And if you think of like what marketing's role is of understanding kind of that end-to-end customer journey, we're not just filling the pipeline, but we're helping sales close deals. We're then helping to make sure that the customer service team is actually delivering on the promise that we're making in our marketing claims. And so marketing has to be, really a common golden thread throughout the entire thing. And there's just so many exhausting, I would say, meetings. And like I said, that education of constantly just making sure everybody is up to speed. That's like the one thing that I would say is like, yeah, keeps me out.
And when would you say you feel the pressure the most?
I think, definitely any like high stakes decisions. I think sometimes like especially in organizations when things are going well, everybody kind of is hands off. It's when things are not going well that all of a sudden everybody's getting involved and they're looking to marketing, and often like the product team, the marketing team, the sales team become on the hook to fix the company. And the issues may not be relevant or related to those departments, but somehow they get put on the hook. Um, and so I think that's like when the pressure is the most is when things are not going well, when the numbers not being hit, and then everybody's kind of looking to the marketing team. And it becomes, especially in B2B, I don't think this is so much in B2C where you have more of like this short term mentality and focus. Like if we're not hitting our number this month, I can do a consumer campaign. I can, go to a bunch of ads and to try to generate business. But when it's B2B, some of these sales cycles are over a year. And so it's not like a lever that we can pull today and see results in a couple of weeks. We're talking like several months out. And so marketing has to be constantly like reminding people of like we're long-term focused and that we need to be involved early, especially with product decisions, product launches, sales changes, and even like customer like changing the go-to-market strategy or doing a different customer strategy, like really marketing to be involved in all of that.
It's just a constant, battle, I find, doing it. And those who, there's a few I find CMOs I've come across, and it's very rare that they just work with a company and everyone just gets it. And then,
Hmm.
of course, that company's very successful as a result, because, that's what you need if you're going to be successful in business.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, I was fortunate, like in my career, to work for some really good companies, some very like skilled marketers. And what I found is like when the marketing team has respect and they're able to do what they want and they're given the budget, not maybe like the full wish list of a budget, but at least a decent budget, and autonomy, the marketing team can thrive and really help the company. It's when you have like a panicky or risk averse C-suite that tries to get overly involved and micromanaging, the marketing team, and to the extent of like literally writing copy, for the website and things like that. Marketing then is set up to fail, and so it's not. Yeah.
I think we all know. I think we've all experienced that. So before we keep pulling at threads, I want to flip it and ask you what's something you care deeply about right now that people aren't asking you?
Yes. Well, I have, I spent my entire career in marketing. I worked half my career in B2C marketing, then I switched over to B2B, and then I became a consultant for a while. And then I went back to working inside an organization and advising. But on top of that, I'm building an AI company for women, and it's called Impressa AI. And really, the goal is to connect women experts with women that are either early stage career or looking for mentors, or looking to build their business. And so we're providing this growth and skilling platform for women to have a safe space to come in and learn from experts, chat with a verified expert, but then also get the skilling they need for AI. What we're finding, women are adopting AI at a lower rate than men. That's problematic because if we play this out, women are already like disproportionately losing their jobs to AI,
Yeah.
and then if they don't have the skills to get back into the workforce, like this problem is going to compound. So we have really taken that to heart, and we created various training programs to help women fully understand, like build their confidence and get comfortable using AI in their work and in their life, so that it's just kind of like it's a skills enhancement. And so that's kind of my passion project right now. And we focus specifically on women because women are being, left behind. My business partner and I both came from very male dominated industries, and we want to, leave our legacy and leave our mark and help close the gender parity gap. Like if we can do a little bit to help with that, then we've succeeded.
I, I think it's safe to say that most people who work in marketing and who are CMOs are women, and AI is becoming such a big topic, and how it's replacing or aiding jobs in that department. And some people
Yeah.
are know a little bit about it or using it. Some people are uneducated about it, or so I think it's really super helpful to have somebody out there who's on the same team to come and support and advance, or help, like you said, advance people's careers, or even like secure their careers.
Yes. Yeah, and it's scary too. Like I think I was helping my husband actually write a job description for head of marketing that they're looking for. And he's like, "Oh, we want somebody to come in and build this whole AI organization." And meanwhile, what was interesting about that is like no other department is doing that. And so I
Mhm.
said, the expectation that the marketing leader is going to come in and build this full stack of, AI agents and orchestrating kind of all the activity that needs to happen, but then the rest of the organization is not caught up. I'm like, they're not going to really be successful. I mean, the AI is successful when other people in the organization are thinking that way, and when you have access to customer data, and when you have access to product insights and operational insights, and not just like operating over here as a silo.
It's going to be interesting to see what happens in the next 10 years. If you could clear one misconception about marketing leadership today, what would it be?
I think a couple things. I think one, marketing has long been like the department that is making things look good. Um, there's there's several organizations that I've worked with that had the belief that we will bring marketing in when we're ready to almost go to market, when we're ready to launch. And I think that's like a big misconception that if you're waiting that long, then marketing has no choice but to, put lipstick on the pig, as they say, because the product itself might not be fully relevant for customers. And I think that's a big, huge miss for organizations. So I'd say it is literally the function responsible for helping the company stay relevant. If there's millions of examples of companies that have gone fully out of business because they lost touch with customers. They lost touch with becoming relevant. The technology changed, the market changed, the economy changed, and they were still like holding on, to their old products, like BlackBerry as a good example. And you have to have somebody in the organization that is looking at that and that is willing to be plugged in and dialed in and tuned in to what customers want and how those needs are changing. And I've always believed that is the marketing department.
Mhm.
I know that's hard in some organizations because marketing isn't necessarily given the authority or the autonomy or even the access to data. But somebody and I found that if marketing is not doing that, generally like people aren't asking the question, and they've kind of lost sight of that. So I would say, yeah, marketing as the customer advocate internally, like that's literally the job to make sure that the company stays relevant.
And I find the non-marketers, another thing that is very common, that's always being said, is, oh, the product is just so great.
Mm,
Marketing comes secondary to it. But that's to your point. It's like, well, how do people know it's great? Right? Somebody
yeah.
has to be telling them that. So,
Yes. Well, I mean,
uh,
exactly. Like the whole mentality of like, if we build it, they will come. Like,
yeah,
no, that's not really how it works.
yeah.
If you build it and you market the heck out of it, then they will come. And ideally that it's a feedback loop, right? That is you're creating value, and then that you're communicating value, and then you're delivering value, and that is informing how do we go create more value. And maybe there's tweaks that we have to make to the product. Like ideally, this whole thing is just like a constant circle in a loop that is feeding itself so that you're getting those insights from customers and able to make those decisions and enhancements.
What's a belief you had early in your career that you completely disagree with now?
Oh gosh, I think um, I'll tell a story. I think there's one. I literally like tied success to like how hard I worked. And I remember this woman that I worked with. She was staying late every single night, and she had all these big projects, and we were on the same team, but I didn't have a hand in her projects. Well, she left the company, and I inherited one of her projects, and I was like terrified. Oh my gosh, am I gonna have to stay late every single night? She was so busy, and it looked really hard. And I got into it and realized she just wasn't very efficient, and she wasn't delegating tasks, first of all. And then secondly, she wasn't like thinking operationally or process oriented to make this thing go faster and smoother. And so I made some changes to the way that project was run, and I am proud to say that I never, had to work around the clock to try to get this thing out the door. It was like an annual event that we did, and it was a pretty big deal. And so I would say that's like the biggest misconception is that you have to like, you know, do all of this. I think invisible labor is what they call it now, with like and women primarily take on a lot more of that, volunteering for projects, like organizing things behind the scene, sending out communications internally. And all of that just kind of adds up. It's like busy work that it's not really moving the needle forward. And so it's like, I think, yes, volunteering for visible projects is good, but then not volunteering for every single task, and being able to delegate things and being comfortable to get like the right people and realize that you don't have to do it all.
I'm not sure, like, I always try to not like attribute things to generations, but sometimes I find with this kind of stuff, it is more common. when I came in, and well, I was the millennial, and the generations after me, there was always this sort of tension because I would always kind of look at things as like, how can I be more efficient? Whereas my mentors and, the employees that were, already working for decades, had this like busy, 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 you always have to be doing
Mm,
something. Yet I saw them burning out all the time. And
yeah.
in my mind, I would always just observe, I'm like, okay, is how I'm looking at it wrong, or are they doing something wrong that has to evolve? In the end, I actually ended up challenging like them by just me approaching it differently, and they started changing their ways over time and realizing like, wow, I wish I knew this sooner.
Yes.
But I'm definitely thinking of that was that work culture that, if you, stay till like midnight in your office, like, wow, you're really like accomplishing.
Yeah, I think another thing too, like in marketing, that just reminds me, what I always like. I've inherited a lot of teams that were over their schedules and to-do lists were overflowing with just kind of like meaningless activities. And the perception was like, we're working really hard because like, look how busy we are. We have all this stuff going on.
Mm-hmm.
And like not to mistake quantity for quality.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember inheriting a team once and they were so stressed out. Everybody on the team was so stressed out because they had overflowing to-do lists. And I kind of looked at the thing. I'm like, we're not doing this. We're not doing this. Cross this one off your list. We're not doing this. And they're like, what? We can do that? I'm like, yeah, we can do that. And we are doing that because we're going to focus all of our efforts on what's going to make the biggest impact. And these little things are not going to do it. That's not going to help us achieve our goals. And so, um, like teaching people, I think to think that way, that it doesn't have to be, you don't have to do everything. And I think as marketers, that's a really challenging lesson because there's a new platform every day. There's a new tool every single day. And we are like, oh my gosh, we're panicking. We have to go get this. We have to go stand up a new channel, and we have to go create this thing, and we're missing out. But I would just say like the taking your time, right, and focusing, and don't lose sight of the customers versus trying to jump on the bandwagon like everybody else. Well, that will lead
80,
to burnout fast.
yeah, the 80/20 principle.
Yes, exactly.
What's a mistake that shaped you more than any win?
I don't know. Mistake. I think probably just I don't view my life that way, so it's hard whenever I'm like, was it a mistake? Or I always like quickly am like, what lesson did I learn? What lesson did I learn? Um, I think like for me, I've always been really driven just by like how much I've been learning in my job or in my career. Um, and if it ever got to the point where I was not learning anymore, then I was like, it's time for me to go. Um, Even there was one job I was even like 6 months pregnant, and I left that job at 6 months pregnant, which is not the ideal time to be looking for a job. Um, but I was like, I can't work here anymore. I'm like tapped out. I feel like I'm getting dumber every day that I work here, and so that for me that was always like the sign that it was time to move on. Um, I would say one mistake slash lesson I did learn in the world of consulting was um, the brilliant thing about consulting is you get to choose your clients, right? You get to decide who you want to work with. And there was a specific client that I worked with that I didn't really fully appreciate the different cultural differences. He was a gentleman not from the US. And so the way that he was conducting his business was very different than how I conducted business. And we ended up not having a great working experience, and that would be like the one thing I was like, okay, now I'm going to do more research before I pull in a client, especially from a different cultural background, so that I can understand, like, are we going to be able to get along? Because I think I just assumed like, oh, it's business, of course everybody understands the principles of business, but there was definitely like a cultural layer to that was really unique, and especially being a woman. and then working for a man and like a patriarch, upbringing, like it definitely played out in our working relationship. And so that was something I was like, I'm not doing that again.
Yeah, I think we've all, and like I had a similar experience, but it was more, it wasn't that. So I'm in Canada, but the client I was working with, like the culture of the industry was very
Mm,
misogynistic. And so, people were just struggling with working, with somebody like, that's has a different approach, and looks at things differently. But yeah, and that, they didn't have to work, or they didn't work with marketing previous because it was so sales dominant. And
mhm.
I had to walk away too eventually because was so stressful. But yeah, those things
Did discover like a
never.
really cool, never again. Exactly.
Yeah.
And there's a really cool tool that I discovered that my friend told me about, that it compares like cultures. It's an online like country comparison tool. And so you
Hmm.
could go pull in your country, pull in like the country that the person is that you're working with, and to see like, all right, are we gonna be able to get along, basically?
Hmm.
Like how are
Hmm.
we, and there's like six different dimensions I
That's
think that they look at.
interesting.
I'm gonna send you the link because it's called Hofstede. Hofstede is the guy I
Okay.
think that invented it. So
Okay.
it's been really useful.
Yeah. No, especially now with everyone working remote, like
Hmm.
it's so important to know these things so that you can
Yes, exactly.
gauge what
Exactly.
your how successful you will be when you team members come and they're from different parts of the world.
Yeah.
So what does this job quietly ask of you as a human that other people don't really see?
I mean, I will say like marketing, it's an interesting job because you have to be like creative, but you have to be operational. You have to be extremely patient, as I told you about, working with the internal teams and driving alignment. I think that's something that I would say, and in fact, I actually wrote a little ebook on this called Look Inside, the real reason you're not winning the marketing game. And it was all about alignment and the fact that really it's like this invisible kind of work and thing that we have to do as marketers is to create alignment and everything, like because we don't operate in like a silo department, right? Everything that we do touches other departments and people, and so it really requires having alignment from the C-suite, all the way down to the customer service team to make sure that everyone is working collectively to develop and deliver that value that is being promised to customers.
So interesting. So what would you say feels unfinished for you right now?
Oh, well, I actually do a lot of like mentoring and coaching still with marketing leaders. I think what feels unfinished is when I like the more people that I talk to, mostly women, that are in these roles, and they're I see like a defeat, and there's that makes me like want to help, and so I'm like, how can I help you show up? And some of it has to do with the function itself and understanding marketing um, and being strategic and being an ally for the organization. Others is just like learning how to work with different individuals, and especially and that is the one thing for marketing, like we appreciate different perspectives, right? If we're good at our job and we know that we are not the customer. We are rarely like the sole buyer persona that we are selling to, especially in like B2B tech, right? And so if we're really good at our job, we're spending time understanding kind of those different perspectives. And I would say like the same is true for the people that you have to work with internally, and putting that same level of empathy and curiosity toward the people that you're working with. So for me, like the unfinished business is just more about getting people confident into those roles and making sure that they want to be there. And if they don't want to be there, that they have the confidence to leave. And that's the brilliant thing, I think, with Impressa and what we're seeing in this community of women. There's a lot of women that have left a job or they're done and they've moved on and they're looking for like a confidence booster. And that to me is like, if we can give that, and if I can leave women like feeling a little more confident and a little more capable, yes, they 100% can do this, then I feel like I will be finished.
There's still a little bit for you to do.
Yes, exactly.
So who do you get to be when you're not the CMO?
Oh, well, gosh, I'm a mom, I'm a wife, I'm a business owner. I kind of wear all those different hats. I love yoga, working out, as we already talked about.
It's great for yoga, by the way.
Yes, I know. I need to get back there. But yeah, I try to, it's interesting. And I've always done this because I've had so many interests and hobbies, but not enough time. Like, how can I stack habits and stack different people in different groups so that I can go spend time with friends and also get a workout in, or I can go spend time with friends and eat a healthy meal while also talking about business. Like something that's where can I get all of that together? So my life is so intertwined that it's like I can't not be a marketer. I mean, I find myself going into like even the juice shop or the coffee shop down the street, and I'm like, I have a suggestion. Like, have you guys ever thought about doing this for your thing? Or you should change the sign out front. And I'm like, oh my gosh, Stacey, stop. Like, you're not working right now, but I can't help it.
It's so true, though. Like marketing, like other careers, it's just so embedded because it's the psychology in the end, right? And you can't turn that off, really, because that's
Hmm.
where when
Yes.
you're not doing meetings or dealing with the stress or teaching people, when do you have that creative time? And it's being in touch with the world around you. So
Yeah,
it's sort of like you're like 24/7 with it.
exactly. I like that's where I go to yoga and I get my 1 hour of just, I'm not thinking about any of that.
Yeah. And you can even maybe through yoga be like, oh, if there's some
Yes.
marketing to it, just to
Yeah.
accelerate the brand or whatnot. But all right, that was so much fun, Stacey. That's a wrap. So thank you so much for with getting real with me today.
All right. Well, thanks for having me.
Thank
Great to
you.
talk to you.